Then let me just run through the agenda for today. We'll have the welcome and introduction of our program director, Ms. Tandeka Makatini, then the introduction of the CIDB Center of Excellence, and then the Sustainable Human Settlement and Construction Research Center. Then we'll have industrial partnership with CIDB from the level, and then the public presentation, and the response and the way forward, and then the question and answer section. Then we'll have the UJFB biasing message of support, then closing and the announcement. So by 10 minutes after 10, we'll start. Please bear with us. And those online, please don't go. Just stay tuned. Thank you.
Obviously, I was speaking about subject matter.
Aghimien from the Sustainable Women Settlement and Construction Research Center. Today, we are having a book launch from the collaboration of three centers: the CIDB Center of Excellence, the Sustainable Women Settlement and Construction Research Center, and the UJ Library. On behalf of our director, Professor Clinton Aigbavboa, I want to welcome everyone here today, those that are here physically and those that are joining us online. Thank you for being here. We'll have a detailed information about the research center. I just want to highlight two major things from our research center. At the research center, we do not accept the diagnosis of hopelessness. We always ensure that we provide solutions to the issues, challenges within the built environment. And also, we do not succumb to the fate of failure of imagination. We look at the future, and that is why our motto is shaping tomorrow's built environment today. So on behalf of Prof and the faculty and every scholar at the research center, I want to welcome every one of us to today's book launch. And today we're going to be led by Program Director, Ms. Tandeka Makatini, who is a Senior Research Specialist at the Council for Built Environment. She has over 10 years of working experience within the built environment. And also, prior to her role, she is also a policy researcher at the Council for Built Environment in South Africa here. And she's a member of the Women Academics in Construction, International Association for Feminist Economics Young Scholar, and the African Women Development and Communication Network. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Tandeka to handle today's program. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good day. Sanbonani, Amsheni, Molweni. I'll end there. The CIDB Center of Excellence, the Sustainable Human Settlement and Construction Research Center, and the UJ Library welcomes you to this auspicious occasion, which is the book launch of the book titled Construction Workforce in the Fourth Industrial Revolution Era, with a young Black South African woman who's a lead author, Lerato Aghimien, followed by Professor Aigbavboa, and the third author is Douglas Aghimien. So I'd like to welcome those who are joining us virtually and those who are here physically. Just in terms of, before we start off our program, if we can just all mute our phones and put them on silent, and let's engage. So as far as our program, you all have the program in front of you. In terms of where we are, I've been welcomed. I'm Tandeka. I think I also need to highlight that I am a PhD student at the center. And also, highlight that the center is very passionate about grooming a pipeline of Black women. The center, in terms of the department and the industry, has an underrepresentation of women. So the center is really, prioritizing, increasing the number of academics and professionals in the industry. So as far as our program, the next item on our agenda is to have Dr. Ntebo Ngozwana to speak on the industrial partnership with CIDB. Dr. Ntebo? Oh, okay. There's an omission. It's introduction of the CIDB COE and the center. Dr. Samuel.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Once more, hello, the program director. Thank you very much for the introduction. She has already welcomed us. So this morning, basically, we'll be having a short overview of the research center that is our host for this morning. And a little bit of disclaimer before I start. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just as the researchers will call it, this is just an abstract of what the center is about, because much more than what is being presented this morning is what we have for the center. So I hope we can see my screen. Yeah. All right. So once more, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So we're talking about the Sustainable Human Settlement and Construction Research Center that is located at the University of Johannesburg. My name is Samuel. So we'll be looking at 5 components of the presentation this morning, from the introduction to what the center does, what we have done, the team members, and finally, the future and conclusion. That makes it 5 that we'll be looking at. So quickly, let's start with the University of Johannesburg. At the University of Johannesburg, where the center is located, University of Johannesburg is located in South Africa, for those of us who know, because I know we all know. So as the name suggests, it is located in the southern part of Africa, South Africa. And then you can see the hero of South Africa there with the hand. And then basically, this is a building that is very, very, it's like the welcoming building you see whenever you come to APK here, okay? And then you have the ring there. So these are just sites that you have to see whenever you come to Johannesburg, University of Johannesburg rather. If you haven't been in any of these places, please make well to visit them today before you leave this place. Please don't worry, we are not going to charge you for the site visits. There is no one who's going to charge you for any of them. So basically, for the University of Johannesburg, we have 4 campuses. One, we have the DFC campus, where the Construction Management and Quantity Surveying Department is located. Then we have the APK campus, where we are at the moment, and the site you can see there is just close by. Hence, I said you can easily go there to see. And then you have the Soweto campus, located in Soweto, and then the APB, that's Ponting Road campus. And the University of Johannesburg actually boasts for more than 50,000 students, both undergraduate and postgraduate students. And then for the students' composition, it houses students from more than 80 countries around the world. So that tells you how the University of Johannesburg actually accommodates diversity and caters for countries or students from every or different countries in the world. Like I mentioned, 4 campuses. And then in the campuses, you can see the breakdown here of the different number of capacities. It means that the University of Johannesburg has the capacity to take a lot of students at a point in time. So I would say, while you are leaving this room, you can easily convince someone that there's still an extra room for him or her to be a student at the University of Johannesburg. So that is the parent company or organization that hosts the center, and we have 7 faculties. So it caters, like I said, for anything you want to study as a student at this University of Johannesburg. But one thing you should note is this, ladies and gentlemen, that for our center, vis-a-vis the department, it is hosted at the Engineering and the Built Environment faculty. So that is the parent faculty hosting the department and the center that we are here to look at today. And here you can see the laudable rankings of the University of Johannesburg from 2023 and 2022 ranking. And one thing I can assure you of is this, ladies and gentlemen. By the time the ranking for this year will be released, this will be an old record, and this will have been. Those of us who are students of Johannesburg, you should be proud of the institution that you belong to. Okay, so let's come to the center itself, which is where
we are actually working from, which is where we have had the birth of the baby. We are actually, as they say, in some places, they are trying to do a naming ceremony for. But one thing I can assure you is that even though the parents have not whispered to me, this is not the last born. It means there are a whole lot of books coming up after this, and you should be ready for more of our invitations to similar events like this to actually name so many books to come. So for the SHSCRC, which is the center, one thing that we pride ourselves in is that we try to look at new things in new ways without majoring on old things and recycling things that have been done before. So our focus is mainly on a new way of doing things. And that is what we do at the Sustainable Human Settlements Research Center. And basically, what prompted the center is this: the gap that has always been there to be filled, which is basically challenges facing the construction industry. Out of the myriad of challenges facing the construction industry, these are top 10. And out of these top 10, I can tell you that the center has been able to actually research and provide solutions to each and every of these 10, even much more than this. Don't worry, I'm going to give you a full list of what has been done by the center as we progress. But one thing we actually noticed is, with these challenges that are facing the construction industry, there has been no one looking at these challenges and how to solve the problems. And that is where the construction industry has been lacking, and that is where the center actually comes in. So at the center, we have two arms. One, the Department of Science and Technology, NRF, Research Chair in Sustainable Construction Management and Leadership in the Built Environment, and the CIDB Center of Excellence. So basically, the Sustainable Human Settlement and Construction Research Center houses two separate research centers. So whenever you see this name, it means you are looking at a conglomerate of two well-resourced research centers coming together under this umbrella. And what is done every day is the push and the passion to actually change the world and take over the world. And this is very conspicuous in our motto and our vision statement. In our vision statement, we say we are shaping tomorrow's built environment today. So it means basically, from where we stand as a research center, we look at the future and we try to change it, or shape it rather, from where we stand today, making impactful research that changes what is going to happen tomorrow. Hence, if you look at most of the outputs and what we do at the research center, it is future relevant. And the vision statement is to be a globally renowned and leading built environment research institute with a focus on impact-driven multidisciplinary research to enhance sustainable human development. Now, one thing you note in our vision statement is this. One, we do not constrain ourselves to the South African space. Hence, it is aimed at being a globally renowned research center. Two, we do not just conduct research or engage in activities. It must be impact-driven. Three, it is not just for the construction industry, but it is multidisciplinary in its approach. So with this said, here is just a quick map of what we have done. And with this, you can see the different color clusters of what has been done so far in the research center. Again, like I said, I know this can be a whole lot taken at the moment, but I'm going to share links to where you can actually get all of it. Now, based on what has been said so far, ladies and gentlemen, we have industry partners that we work with at the research center. Three have been highlighted here, even though we have the likes of DBSA and the rest not on this slide. Like I said earlier on, this is an abstract, just a summary of the entire thing. So we have the CIDB, we have the CB, and then we have construction sitter that we constantly work with. And in our team, we boast of one professor, we have senior lecturers, we have distinguished visiting professors, these professors up to PhD students. And one testimony to that fact is when the program director mentioned that she is a PhD student with the center. That tells you that we are very, very interested in grooming young talents and young academics. Especially, we are interested in actually grooming young female South Africans to actually be professionals. And one thing you should know is this about the center. Look at the rundown of countries we have by the right. That is where our students or our team actually come from. Our lead academics in this research center, ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to have 3. And out of that 3, we have Dr. Lerato Aghimien, who is actually the one christening a baby today, if I can put it that way. And then we have Dr. Murendeni Lipazi, and the leader of the team is Professor Clinton Aigbavboa. Our activities quickly. Like I said, when I mentioned the vision statement of the research center, we look at things but from a multidisciplinary perspective. And because of our global reach, we do not just focus on research only. We have so many things that we focus on. Research, industrial consulting, capacity building. And for each of these activities that we do, there are telltale testimonies of what has been achieved. Take, for example, for research, I'm going to show you our testimonial, and which is everywhere on the net. I can remember last week, where someone with Prof. Someone was like, Prof, every paper I search online, as my subject topic or my research focus, rather, every name that comes up is just your name. Everything that comes up is just from your research center. How are you guys doing it? And there you know that the publications from the research center are very, very impact-driven and very, very relevant. Then for industry consulting, like I mentioned earlier on, we have so many partners, CIDB, the CETA is there, and others. Then for capacity building, this we have done hosting conferences. Take, for example, 2022, there was CIDB conference, postgraduate conference. 2023, we had a whole lot of scholarly lunch break for those of us who attended at STH. We had conferences that we actually took upon ourselves, like the QS conference that took place in Boasberg. Then we also do a whole lot of SLP training in relevant focuses in the construction industry. So quickly, like I said earlier on, I'm going to give you just a snapshot of what has been done in terms of publication. Here we have achievements so far in terms of publications, over 1,000 peer-reviewed publications. Permit me to tell you this is actually more than 1,000. This is just being humble by saying over 1,000. So over 1,000 can be 10,000 plus or 1,000,000 plus. All right. So 20 plus scholarly research books. These, I'm going to come to this when I show you a particular slide, so you can know my pain and then the pain of us when we want to probably talk about what has been done, because sometimes the slides is not just enough to contain what has been done. Then over 100 plus book chapters, then graduate training over 50. Again, 50, saying over 50 means you can have 100 or 1 million. Over 120 masters, mentored over 10 plus postdocs and senior postdocs included. Now, you see the screen. This is just a snapshot of books published. If you are to do a roll call, you can, even if you look at this screen, you can see that what you're actually here for today, the book we are here for today to launch, is not here. Because as it stands, the space is not even enough to contain all what has been done in terms of book. So imagine if I'm going to put the title of the publication in terms of conferences, book chapters, and journal articles that have been published in the center. So our future projection is basically in threefold. In line with our vision statement and our motto, we just want to improve efficiency and improve productivity, not only in the construction industry, but in every sector that the construction industry serves. irrespective of where we focus on, be it skill enhancement, curriculum development, BIM lab, which you're having a digitization lab, by the way, which is coming up already. And you can partner with us on that, DVU pitch, lecture series, and the rest. The goal remains the same, to improve productivity and efficiency. Now, ladies and gentlemen, looking at all what has been done in this center and our future projection of achieving efficiency in the construction industry and all the sector it serves, and where we come from, having a competent list or a multidisciplinary human resource pool at our disposal, having a team of industry and academic experts. I was about saying, wouldn't you rather join us? But again, I would rather say, ladies and gentlemen, I know your passion is also to change the future and to shape the future, just like our passion is. And at this point, I won't ask you if you'd rather join us. I would rather say, come to the center, come and see what we are doing. The testimony in the physical sense is going to tell you much more than what has been presented. And I won't ask you if you are pondering to join, because already I know you are joining us from this moment. So we are just waiting for you to come and join us. So basically, if you want to look at our website, here you can scan the QR code, and then there you have the email addresses. You can send an email at any time of the day rather, and you get a response. On LinkedIn, we are there, and it has a whole lot of chronicles on the activities of the center. Then on X, formerly Twitter, we have a handle there. Then on Facebook, one thing I can tell you is we are not a center that is stuck with the past. You can see, even though we are doing what we are meant to do, they are also relevant in terms of social media. So our social media outreach is there, telling what is being done, how it is being done, and where it is being done. I won't say by who, because we are the who. So you can always follow us and get an insight into what we do. If, based on your visit to our social media pages, you still have questions to be answered physically, please come to the research center at Aigbavboa campus, and you meet Professor Clinton there. He can actually answer all of your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, thank you for listening to my abstract. It's just a summary, like I said. For the full details, I can provide you with a thesis like 300 pages or 400 for you to go through what has been done so far. But one thing we can tell you is this: we can't do it alone, and we don't want to do it alone. We believe we can always do it together. And that's one thing we're trying to break in the construction industry, working in silos. So you coming on board and working with us will help us achieve more and much more than what we have achieved so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samuel, for that comprehensive overview of our center. I think we should employ him as our ambassador. I really appreciate how he demonstrated how the center is multidisciplinary. We do not think, in one dimension, so that's important. As far as our program, I'd like to call Dr. Ntebo Ngozwana to speak on the industrial partnership with CIDB.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, or Program Director. Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you all on this beautiful Johannesburg morning, and to the people who are joining us online. I would like to first of all acknowledge this opportunity offered by the Center for Human Settlements and Construction Research. I always find it to be a mouthful, and because I'm with the CIDB, I prefer to call it the CIDB Center of Excellence. It gives me a sense of belonging when I say that. And what I'm going to talk about is the partnership that we have with the university through the CIDB Center of Excellence. I think Dr. Sam did such a good job talking about it that I kind of find myself thinking, what can I improve on? But we are given a good goal. I'm not going to try. One very learned person says, the human nature prefers to live in the comfort of pain and the discomfort of moving into the unknown. So we prefer to suffer peacefully with what we know than venture out and do what we don't know. I think when you were introduced, Thandeka mentioned that she's in policy research. The CIDB is an institution of government. We report to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. And what we are mandated to do as the CIDB is to provide leadership in the industry. And leadership, in most cases, means moving beyond the comfort of pain and pushing the boundaries. And in pushing the boundaries, we normally use policy instruments. And when you develop policy instruments at a government level, you always have to provide empirical data to show that these policy instruments have either worked someplace or addressing a felt need and have a good chance of success. Because if you don't do that, it's thumb sucking. So the partnership, the CIDB Center of Excellence at the University of Johannesburg, is our endeavor to push all of us as the industry out of what we know into the unknown. And this center specifically concentrates on the whole area of technology innovation in the construction industry. We started, first of all, talking about the fourth industrial revolution and talking about 4IR and construction in the 3D landscape. But now it looks like people are talking 5D. And our idea as CIDB is that as we develop policies, we are not going to develop policies as followers. We have to provide the leadership. And part of that leadership brings me to another very important aspect of the center that was also mentioned by Dr. Sen. It's the fact that as a government entity, we have a mandate and an obligation to transform our industry. And transforming the industry is not only about changing the faces of people who were doing things. It's about changing the faces, bringing in more people who were historically excluded from the industry, but also changing the way we do things, improving on productivity, improving on efficiencies, and the innovation that the center drives talks to that transformation. Part of the transformation is also the transformation in human resources, the skills that we provide, and making sure that we provide a space for everybody to find themselves within the construction industry. And I believe with the partnership that we have with the CIDB Center of Excellence at UJ, we are making strides towards that mandate. And very briefly, I want to speak to the advances that we're driving and maybe blow the horn of the UJ family a bit. Maybe next time I will also come and register for a PhD in the center. But one of the very important work that we are doing is we are developing a roadmap for the adoption of building information modeling in the country. And the center is very instrumental in doing that. And as part of that whole area of work, every year. And last year in 2023, we had the privilege of hosting that skills challenge in South Africa. The center fielded, I think, 8 teams. And out of the 8 teams, we got gold winners, silver winners, and medals of excellence, just to show the quality of work that is taking place within the center. We are benchmarking against the BRICS countries. The other very important aspect in the center is a very high student output, graduate student output. We are beginning to see a lot of graduate students coming out of the center. And what is most pleasing for our transformation mandate is that we are getting female PhD candidates. And these female PhD candidates who get the opportunity of spending an extra year at the center as postdoctoral fellows are beginning to assume leadership positions in our universities. And I guess we all know that once that is entrenched, more girl children will find themselves represented in the industry and will want to join and stay. So I believe that is a very significant contribution to transformation by the center. As far as industry is concerned, the center is assisting us as the CIDB, the CBE, the CETAs, and the department in improving communication within the industry, communication of research findings, communications of innovations, both innovations that are piloted and those that are still coming. And we believe that that is very important, because unless we communicate what is happening in the world, we are going to always be following behind what other people are doing. So the center has been very instrumental in running industry workshops and webinars where we introduce new advances to the industry. And when I talk about industry, I mean both contracting, client, and consulting fraternity. It has also supported us in hosting conferences. And in those conferences, we have had very significant international collaboration, which talks to the partnerships that were reflected as part of the center. And very importantly, through the work that we're doing with the center, we introduced about 3 years back the whole idea of hosting on a state of the construction industry seminar. And in the state of the construction industry seminar, we attempt to bring together people who have an interest in this industry and discuss pertinent issues that are affecting the industry as a whole. Because as the industry matures, we have to make sure that the early adopters, who's everybody affiliated to UJ and the Center of Excellence, does not move far ahead of the late adopters. So we have to make sure that our learning is shared with the people coming behind us, and we all grow as a collective for the industry. Lastly, we have the international collaboration. I think through the center, we've had conferences, we've had webinars with partners from more than 10 different countries in the past year. And as the CIDB, we want to grow that international collaboration, and we want to make sure that we increase the collaboration and bring in a lot more African countries into our collaborative space, especially countries in the SADC region, because many of our industry players end up working in those industries. So when our South African contractors and professionals go into Botswana, Namibia, Lesotho, Swaziland, they should be going into an environment that understands the policy environment that we work in and understands where we see the industry moving towards. So I think those are the very significant achievements that we've gotten through the Center of Excellence at UJ. And of course, as the center does that, we get physical products that also contribute to the growth of personal leadership. And in concluding, I want to turn to our main celebrant for today. As we celebrate you, Lerato, I want you to remember, in sports, they say that a team is only as good as its last game, right? You're only as good as the match that the whistle is just blown on. And so we have this lovely whistle that we are celebrating today, but this whistle says, we know you've already started on something else. So we are anticipating the next product and the next time that we'll be coming together to celebrate that. And to all of us, people in the centers, us aspiring students, and all the people joining online, I always say to people, we always talk about expertise. And when we talk about expertise, there's always an assumption that there's a school qualification that renders one an expert. Because if I were to say to any one of you seated here that you are an expert, your first point of call is the humility that says, oh, but there's so much that I still have to learn. But I think what I want us to do is internalize the fact that expertise is acknowledgement by peers. When your peers say you know, believe them. Believe you know, work from that, grow from that, and at every place, own that expertise. Because it's only when you own that expertise that you'll be motivated and inspired to grow so that you don't become yesterday's expert. Because I don't think anybody wants to be yesterday's expert. So, Lerato, own the expertise that you have today. Own it. Live it. And as you own and live it, please aspire to build on it. Because as you build on it, you inspire the people who are looking towards you to see that there's still a very long road to travel ahead. As you do that, you'll be leading by example. And it's through examples such as yours that we get the transformation of this industry to be experienced and seen and supported. So congratulations on your knowledge. Congratulations to the center. And we hope next time we'll be launching 3 books in the session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Debo, for that overview in terms of highlighting the importance of the relationship between academia and industry. We are at the part of the program which I call the core, the main dish. Why we're here. I would like to call on Dr. Lerato, who's going to present the highlights, the focus, the findings, and future implications of her book as the leading author of the book titled Construction Workforce Management in the Fourth Industrial Revolution Era. Can we please give her a warm round of applause?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. Director. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for honoring the invite to the people who are available this morning in the auditorium, as well as everyone that is connecting on. I would just I'm going to take a few moments to, like in intervals, to drink water. My throat is a bit scratchy this morning, so please forgive me. So this morning, my presentation, I am going to be talking about the authors. I am also going to give details about the book. I'm going to go through the introduction and what motivated the book. I'm also going to talk about the book itself, the structure, the chapters within the book, and lastly, I'm going to give final words and acknowledgements. It's also no. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lerato Aghimien, and I am currently the acting head of the Department for Construction Management and Quantity Surveying. I am also the Deputy Director for the Center, for the CIDB Center of Excellence. We have another co-author, which is Professor Clinton Aigbavboa, who is the professor within the Department of Construction Management and Quantity Surveying. He is also the director of the CIDB Center of Excellence, as well as the Sustainable Human Settlement and Construction Research Center. And last but not least, the third author is Dr. Douglas Aghimien, who is the program leader for the BSc Quantity Surveying and Construction at the School of Arts, Design and Architecture, Devonfont University. So this morning, as you can see on the screen, the title of the book is Construction Workforce Management, and it was published by Emerald. The book is available for purchase on hard copy as well as soft copy. The soft copy can be purchased in chapters if you don't want to purchase the entire book. It is also available on Kindle for those of us who use Kindles. So the nature of the construction industry globally is labor intensive.
And the industry, for it to be productive, it is really driven by its workforce. Hence, the industry is a massive employer for labor. And looking at the resources used in the construction industry, labor is crucial to the delivery of construction projects. Hence, it is important for this labor to be well managed. However, looking at the relationship between the construction industry and its workforce, one can actually say it's paradoxical, because on one hand, the industry relies heavily on its labor, while on the other hand, it pays less attention to issues surrounding workforce management, right? With this high dependence on labor, coupled by skills shortage, and one would actually expect proper management would be in place for the few available skills. And also, with the constant changes in the social, economic, and technological climate, it is important for construction organizations to develop unique and sustainable ways to manage and retain its most valuable asset. And in this case, it's the workers that are working within the industry. Right? That is why there is a need for an efficient workforce management practice within the construction industry. What exactly does this workforce management mean, right? Basically, workforce management actually entails improving workers' and organizational performance by effectively managing these employees. When organization manages its workforce effectively, they are able to retain the existing employees within the company, and also they become attractive to the prospective employees. And over time, we have seen that many workforce practices have been developed, right? But however, in the fourth industrial revolution, offers organizations opportunities to solve problems such as cost and time overruns, quality and safety. And when adopted correctly, these technologies can impact how workforce is managed within the construction industry. So what motivated the book? First of all, we saw that there was an absence of an integrated workforce management model in the construction industry, particularly in developing countries. Also, the need to understand the impact of 4IR technologies on the management of the construction workforce. And thirdly, the need to alienate the fear of possible job losses within the construction industry with these emerging technologies. About the book. So the book delineates the concept of workforce management within the construction industry. The book explains the concept of construction workforce management, and many studies have used the term human resource management, personnel management, but we opted to use the term workforce. And this is because the term workforce is actually common within the construction industry space, right? And likewise, the book explores the impact of technology on construction workforce management. It gives insights to the existing theories, models, and practices as well. Likewise, the book also unearths the gaps in existing construction workforce management studies. The book proposed a 7-construct conceptual model designed to improve the management of workers in the construction industry. This book is actually timely as it gives direction to effectively managing the construction workforce within the era of the fourth industrial revolution. Likewise, the contents of the book is beneficial to owners, managers of construction organizations, because it gives a guide on how the workforce needs to be managed within an organization. Likewise, with construction industry regulatory bodies such as the CIDB can also be able to give advice on how construction companies are supposed to manage their employees in their respective companies. And when it comes to researchers and academic, this book can actually be used as a basis to build upon and explore more areas within workforce management within the South African construction industry. The book is divided into 8 chapters, and each chapter begins with an abstract, an introduction, and ends with a conclusion. So the book is structured as follows, as we start with the general introduction. Then we explored workforce management. Then we moved on with that same workforce management that we explored. We looked at workforce management within the era of the 4th Industrial Revolution. Then chapter 4 looked at the theories, models, and practices of workforce management. In chapter 5, we identified the gaps in construction workforce. Chapter 6, we conceptualized the construction workforce management. In chapter 5, we then explored the conceptualized construction workforce model through the opinions of experts and using a Delphi. And lastly, in chapter 8, we concluded all the other chapters. So looking at chapter 1, which is a general introduction into workforce management, we introduced the concepts of workforce management. We also showcased the objectives of the book, the value of the book, as well as the structure of the book as showcased in the previous slide. Chapter 2 of the book is where the concept of workforce management is explained. And this is where the challenges of workforce management were revealed, particularly issues around the nature of the construction industry, skills shortage, unhealthy working environment, diversity, and the poor image of the construction industry. As we all know, the construction industry is perceived as a blue collar rather than a white collar. And because it's perceived as such, you find most of the young people don't feel encouraged to actually join the sector, right? In the same chapter, we looked at past studies using a bibliometric approach to see which areas in construction workforce management are currently being done, or rather what people are talking about. And these areas include occupational health and safety, human resource and project management, workforce management and sustainable construction process, construction workforce education and development. So what this bibliometric review revealed to us that there is not much that is being said around workforce management and the 4th Industrial Revolution, or rather the digital technologies surrounding workforce management. Therefore, this emphasized the need of the study in the 4th Industrial Revolution. Thank you. Also, what we found is that for us to improve workforce management, we need careful recruitment, effective training, provide a safe working environment, putting policies to promote diversities, and ensure that the industry also uses innovative technology amongst other issues. So when it comes to the construction workforce management in the 4th Industrial Revolution, based on the knowledge that is gathered in chapter 2 on workforce management, we also explored this workforce management in the era of the 4th Industrial Revolution. We looked at how technology how technology can actually impact on workforce management. And we looked at human resource management, information systems, big data, analytics and cloud computing can help analyze construction workers' personalities. And this can be done during the recruitment and selection, training and development stages of human resource management. It also can impact the performance evaluation and compensation of the workers within the organization. Likewise, when you look at occupational health and safety within construction projects, the use of 3D printing, robotics, and drones offer a very safer, or rather a safer method of delivering construction projects. Also, the use of Internet of Things, AR and VR, are helpful learning tools that can be used for training and development. We don't have to be in the same place as the person conducting the training for our workers. A simulated environment can be created, right? Thus, in the long run, helping to save time and money for the organizations. Likewise, the use of mobile applications for effective communication management. This we saw during the COVID period, where people couldn't be physically on site, but work still needed to continue. And also with the load shedding as well, people also really needed to look at systems that they can use that would actually require less data, right? So obviously with these technologies comes a lot of challenges as well. And these technologies are challenged by obviously resistance to change due to the fact that people have the fear that they will be losing their jobs. And also investing in these tools is actually quite pricey. And when you look at an SMME in South Africa, some of them may not be able to afford these tools. Likewise, organizational structure and culture amongst other factors. So in chapter 4, we explored the theories, models, and practices. We reviewed the highlighted theories and models to develop a suitable approach towards workforce management. Majorly, we built upon the classical theory, which actually believes that maximizing employees' potential to achieve organizational goals. And we also looked at the hard and soft model, but however, we concentrated on the soft model, the soft side of the model, because it sees that employees are actually a source of competitive advantage and should not be just looked at as another asset within the company. Okay, and now we came up with a strategic soft model workforce management approach that embraces empowerment and development through trust, right? With everything that has been reviewed, there are 5 major practices that best suit the soft workforce management approach. And these are as follows: recruitment and selection, compensation and benefits, performance management and appraisal, employee involvement and empowerment, as well as training and development. Likewise, with the review of every literature, with the review from the workforce management literature, we then identified the gaps that we felt that over and above the 5 workforce practices, we needed 2 things to complete the model that we were creating, right? And the 2 gaps that we identified, one of them is emotional intelligence, where we looked at Goldman's mixed model, which says that it takes into account 20 factors that forms an individual emotional intelligence. So basically, Goldman says, as an individual, you have 5 factors that you need so we can say you are emotionally intelligent. And these 5 factors are important for employers and or management to have in order to have an improved performance of organizations, right? Likewise, the second gap that we identified is external environment, where we looked at the institutional theory. So looking at the external environment, we all know that the construction industry cannot work in silos. It works with other stakeholders. You have your suppliers, your subcontractors, and the likes. This means that the external environment does play a critical role in whether the construction company adopts the right practices and technologies. So looking at the institutional theory, which says that the environment exerts a normative, coercive, and mimetic, which influences force management. Right? There's a hand raised. Should I ignore it? Okay, chapter 6. This is now where we talk about the conceptualized model. And let's just ask him to unmute. Okay, like I said, chapter 6 looked at the conceptualized construction workforce management. As you can see, we have the 7 human resource management practices I spoke about earlier and the 2 identified gaps. And when all these practices are brought together, we can have an outcome of effective construction workforce management. And with this success outcome, the practices can actually promote proactiveness, participation, improve skills, effective commitment, better quality, and flexibility within the organization. So as you can see now from this model, it shows that the construction if a construction organization were to adopt this model, they can now see the different variables and pick out the variables that are applicable to their own construction organizations. I know it's not clear, but when you adopt the model, then you can see the different variables that are there. Okay, so now exploring workforce management through model through the experts' opinions, right? So a Delphi approach was used to test the applicability of the model that was developed. There were 11 experts that were used within the construction industry as well as academics. And the 2-round Delphi revealed that the human resource management practices as well as the gaps were actually suitable and applicable for the South African construction industry. So chapter 8, this now is the end of the book where we conclude this book, right? And there were 4 major conclusions that were drawn. The first conclusion was that construction industries are failing to embed workforce management practices, resulting in high employee turnover, dissatisfaction among its existing workers, and ultimately lower productivity of the workers and organizations. 2, we concluded that the 4IR offers emerging technologies that, when adopted within construction organizations, can help improve how organizations deliver their projects and manage its employees. 3, we now concluded that implementing a construction workforce management model that recognizes the impact of digital tools is crucial to any organization seeking to get optimum productivity of its workers. Last but not least, this book conceptualized construction workforce model that can be a valuable tool for construction organizations. Okay. This book also serves as an excellent theoretical background for future studies for those academics who want to explore more on workforce management practices within the construction industry. Likewise, the developed model promotes the need for soft workforce management in the construction industry. And this is where practices that promote proactiveness, participation, and improved skills are adopted to give better quality and flexibility within the construction industry. The conceptualized model presents the theory that the attainment of increased employee and organizational performance, among other success outcomes within the construction industry in the current 4IR era, is dependent on the effective management of recruitment and selection, compensation and benefits, performance management and appraisal, training and development, employee involvement, emotional intelligence, and the external environment. Now for my final words. Managing the construction workforce is crucial for the survival of any construction organization and the industry at large. Construction organizations can no longer continue to neglect the effective management of their workforce, right? Policies promoting the 7 workforce managements highlighted in this book should be adopted within construction organizations so that they can have better performance for its workers as well as their organization at large. Likewise, digital technology is not here to take away our jobs. Digital technology can actually be infused within construction so that it makes the workforce more efficient and effective and connected. Likewise, it can only make human operations better, and in the process, open new markets for new job opportunities, right? Construction organizations must also carefully assess the available digital technologies and adopt them in a manner that benefits not only just the organization and the projects, but also its workforce within the organizations for better delivery as well as increased performance. Finally, the conceptualized model in this book provides a broad view of the practices that measures and their measurement variables needed to effectively manage construction workers, right? It is also necessary for practitioners and researchers to further test the suitability and applicability of the conceptualized model in this context of the country where it is applied. Because when you take this model, if you were to apply it in another country, it might not necessarily work. Hence, you need to do an assessment and pick up those constructs and variables that are pertinent to that specific country or organization. I would also like to acknowledge the following entities: the University of Johannesburg, the CIDB, in particular the CIDB Center of Excellence, as well as the National Research Foundation. And I would also like to give thanks to the team from the Sustainable Human Settlement and Construction Research Center at UJ. Thank you so much for your constant support. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to gloat that it's not just about producing the quantity, it's quality. This book is a testament that we don't just do PhDs for the sake of doing PhDs. This book is aligned to her PhD and is contributing to the body of knowledge and contributing to addressing the challenges in the industry. So we're not just producing papers, but we're making a mark in the industry, and it's about bringing solutions and innovation. Okay, in terms of our program, we are at the question and answer session. So we'd like our authors to take the platform so that we can have an interactive session and engage on the book.
So we have a question online. Says how to buy the book. How do they buy the book?
Oh, how do they buy? Do we have a mic or?
No.
So how are we gonna take the questions? Are they gonna come to the front?
The room is how.
Oh, the room, oh, technology. Okay, as I mentioned, this is an interactive session now. It's giving you an opportunity to engage our authors, ask questions, areas of clarity, comments, and yeah, so can we have takers? Okay, we have a lady at the back, so yes, you can.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. My name is Ndombela. I'm coming from the Durban University of Technology. I was very excited to receive an invitation to my alma mater to come and witness this prestigious occasion. This is very encouraging for me because when you are trying to look for materials to share with your students, a lot of times you get international authors. So it's very encouraging that while we are in the talks of decolonization of the industry, decolonization of even education, that we have people that we can make reference to. We have authors that as much as we are decolonizing, but we're also producing knowledge to say we are unlearning a few concepts, but we are also learning the story through our perspective and through our eyes. And this is what we are saying is happening. So it's also very encouraging that not only are we backward looking, but we're forward looking in that the book is about the fourth industrial revolution, which is where we are now. So you don't want to bore students with, in the past this happened, in the past that happened. What is happening now? So that is very encouraging. The last lecture session that I had with the students, we were talking about the pay gap in the construction industry, that when you are working as a laborer in the UK, in the United States of America, you are paid far more than what you are here. And that sometimes when we see the workforce or the laborers, to be specific, striking, they seem ridiculous to those that are working in the office spaces. So your quantity surveyors or construction managers, it's like, why are they striking? I mean, everything is fine. But when you really take a look at what has happened in the past and what is happening even now, you see that there's a huge gap between the pay disparities between us and in the world context. So I just wanted to ask that as much as we're speaking about the workforce and how can we manage it better, I saw you touched a bit on the equality, right? Balancing the equality in terms of when you're employing people. Does the book in any way, shape, or form touch on the pay disparities, the pay gaps between even just male and females? There's also the issue of that, right? Does it touch on that, or maybe is that something that can be looked into in the future?
Thank you so much for your insights and questions, Ms. Ndombela. I think let's take 3 insights and questions at a time, then we'll give the authors time to respond. Can we have 2 more takers?
Stand up. Thank you so much for a very informative book. And like Mokolo says, it really is. It does come at the right time for our industry. But I have a question, and my question is based on the meter taxi Uber scenario that we experience in this city. And I'm just wondering, have you looked at what unskilled laborers or how unskilled labor can or may in the future interact with technology operators and so forth? You did touch on this is not taking jobs, but have you looked at what can be done today to get people to understand that the world is moving and they either move along with it or they are going to be left behind? That's the first part. But also related to that, when you spoke about the whole construction supply chain, and you mentioned material suppliers, I'm just thinking for a material supplier, poor productivity on site is money in the bank. And have you looked at ways in which they can be convinced to come on board, because it doesn't mean that not paying for reworks in any way impacts on their businesses? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ngozanya. Okay, at the back there.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank Prof. Kingsway and Lerato and just for putting this wonderful paper together. I hope I will have the opportunity to actually go through them. So thank you very much, Prof, for putting this thing together. So during the presentation, there was something that struck me that I really want us to, maybe one day authors to talk more about. It was about the emotional intelligence. And this is the first time I'm getting that insight. The emotional intelligence talks about this concept of building and the rest. So I don't know if you just give us a little tip, if it's a vital component, because we have projects we get involved with, but we never really need to think about the emotional intelligence of those who are involved. We just look at the academic qualification and look at the appearance and say, okay, this one can be involved in this project or not. So you just give us a little insight on that, the importance of having that component in the construction management. Thank you very much.
For that question, I think we'll give our authors to respond to these 3 questions, then we'll go for another round. So in terms of responding, you can start with the issue raised by Ms. Ndombela on the pay gaps, perhaps.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. And for Ms. Ndombela, good to see you. And for the question, I think it's very insightful. There's so much interest in terms of the dimensions of compensation and pay disparity. Looking at the book is kind of really a strategic insight into one of the various exogenous variables, which was compensation. Because there's no way you can talk about workforce management in this era without looking at the dimension of compensation. So the book explored in detail the aspect of compensation in terms of how workers need to be remunerated and how they should be treated in terms of our context in this particular era of default revolution. Yeah, so the book actually looks at that particular dimension. However, the book did not go into the granular details in terms of skilled and unskilled. It looked at it from a high level in terms of what compensation means and what it stands for and how workers should be compensated. So, but one of the things that we hope to kind of really stimulate through the book generally is that each of those particular dimensions can be modeled. I can pick compensation to actually look at it from the skill dimension or from the skill dimension. So yeah, it does look at that, but not in comparison with what is happening in the developed world. Because there are a lot of differences between what happens here. It's like even the compensation in most geographical contexts, they are not the same. If somebody tells you he's earning about 50,000 rand in South Africa, everybody will see it as a very big money and all that. Then you go to the US or you go to the UK, somebody will tell you he's earning 4,000 pounds. You're wondering 4,000 pounds, 50,000 rand, you know, those kind of comparison. So what we need to have in mind is that it will not be possible to achieve what Dubai is paying the laborers and what we are paying in South Africa. Because the geographical context, economic disposition is different. And there is a whole lot of other things we can put into the particular bag. But the book does talk about compensation relating to work. I don't know if the colleagues want to answer it.
Yes, I think if you look at the model that was presented at some point, within the compensation and aspect of the construct, there are several generic variables that an organization can pick and contextualize. So if somebody in the US, for example, decides to pick that same model, they'll have to contextualize it within their own space in order to be sure that it fits within what they are looking for. So the pay gap might come to play when we look at it within the context where the model applies.
I think the other question relates to what Dr. Ntebo has raised in terms of the unskilled laborers, how they can be integrated into the technology dimension. Okay, I think that particular interaction is something that the construction industry is still dealing with. We have seen a whole lot of technological practices. There was some I was looking at yesterday relating to plastering, you know, which is kind of really on a skill level. But now you see machines being used for plastering. And the other one that really struck me was somebody was trying to lay ties. And we know in the contemporary construction industry, somebody will first of all have to do the bedding. Now you see a machine doing the bedding. And I saw 3 guys just standing back and controlling the machine to do the bedding before another machine was laying the ties. So I think that is where one of the things that the book looked at in terms of the era that we're in is how to actually bring about the reskilling of construction workers. Reskilling is not just used loosely, but it's used in the sense of some of these jobs will not be done away with, just the way we are seeing it. Some of them are still going to be there, but we need people that will now work smartly. There's this other one I have seen with a machine laying paving stones. You know, paving stones are labor-intensive work, but I have seen that even the machine cannot lay paving stone in some very difficult areas and all that. You still need humans. So there is that particular discussion for interaction for the unskilled labor to actually be able to use it to enhance their work, because we come to realize that people use cell phone, and most of the time, even the knowledge in terms of between skilled and unskilled or the divide is not that much. So it's more or less looking at processes, looking at technologies that we can easily be able to look at how they work in the immediate and introduce collectively. But we know that the investment is kind of really huge. Considering where we are as an industry. And also the aspect of the supply chain in terms of the materials, poor productivity and ways to convince the material suppliers to come on board. You know, we did a book with one of my other students, Dayo Susomi, on the supply chain in the era of the 4I arrow. You realize that when it comes to that particular aspect, it's difficult to really be able to have an industry at the moment where everybody works together in sync, all the stakeholders. But the advent of modularity, looking at modular construction or factory construction, is actually going to bridge the gap, where the material suppliers will work hand in hand with the manufacturers and likewise construction professionals to ensure that we actually are able to minimize wastage. But we know these things are just insights, but at the moment, the kind of collaboration we have is more or less a contractual arrangement, where you basically deliver, either it gets wasted, or either it gets used. It is not the responsibility of the supplier anymore. Whereas with the modularity thinking, if the materials become overly sufficient, you can actually be able to take it back to the supplier that can now use it for someone else that will need it here. I just wanted to add that to that question. Do you want to add to it?
Okay, not to sound very repetitive, because Prof has taken the words out of my mouth, but I just wanted to emphasize the fact that there is the element of reskilling and obviously multi-skilling of the laborers within the construction industry. Because at the end of the day, the machines that we adopt, the technology that we adopt, someone still needs to switch it on. In a sense that people can actually be reskilled in that dimension to say, this is how you use the available technologies and so on and so forth.
No, I think it opens up a whole area of further studies, because like Prof said earlier, we can actually break down these different areas. Who knows, we might have to have a new idea on how do we train the unskilled and write a new book on that area also. Thank you. I think the last question was on emotional intelligence. I think your comment was actually one of the major reasons why emotional intelligence became a critical construct. Like you said, we just employ people. We don't really care about their emotional aspects. We just see the certificates, the years of experience majorly within the construction industry. However, a person that is not emotionally intelligent might not be able to deliver the project or relate to your client as much as you would want to. So we want a situation whereby, as much as we are managing the recruitment and selection, performance management, training and development, we should also look at the emotional aspects, because that is what makes an individual a construction expert and an all-round expert within that space. He must be able to also handle his emotions. And like she said earlier, the Goldman mixed model was most appropriate because it gave 20 different variables divided into 4 major groups. And that actually helped to shape up how organizations should manage their workforce emotions.
Just to add to it also, I think some of the vital components within the Goldman model, because the reason why we are increasingly really modeling emotional intelligence is that we realize there's so much reliance on the IQ, intelligent quotients and all that. But we realize that the industry is also seen as a place where people speak swear words. It's like you go to the industry, there's a lot of profanity. And people kind of really leave home happy in the morning, they get back home really demoralized. So we realize that from the workers down to let me say the managers, we have to bring in emotional intelligence, because there's no way the workforce can deliver if you are not kind to them. There's no empathy, because one of the things we are losing very quickly at the moment, people don't show empathy. People are not kind. There's another word I like using, is consideration. We don't consider each other anymore. It's like it's a dog-eat-dog situation. You're on site, you are here to work. It might be that the worker is the best person you have on site, but probably he woke up that morning, this child is sick, he's not feeling well. And he's thinking of, doesn't have money, the child is going to the hospital, but the manager is just thinking of, I need to deliver the project to the client. So if you bring in emotional intelligence, you realize that worker you think is sloppy today, if you are kind to him, will actually be the one to shoulder the responsibility to make sure the project is completed. So project completion, most of the time, we kind of really look at technical dimensions, but emotional intelligence is something that we cannot overlook, not even in this age of mental issues. We're having a constant mental stresses and all that. So the vital component is that within the industry, empathy is needed, irrespective of how we are kind of really technically hardcore, that people have emotions. That's where the issue of the 4IR comes in. That when you now have machines don't show emotions. They don't show empathy. They will just do the work. But we know at the end of the day, a whole lot of disasters are happening in factories now, where you see a robot killing the man that is operating it. Because if the man is not of a sound mind and he lost his mind, or he just basically goes absent-minded, press another button, the machine goes into another mode. And we have seen some of those videos on YouTube. So in the industry, we are kind of really modeling some of our studies at the moment, issues of emotional intelligence, because I think as human beings, we have emotions and we need to show it, not just to discard it. Thanks.
And just to add on, like Prof just highlighted now, that we are all emotional beings, and we cannot shy away from that, because that's the core of individuals. And also working within this space, coming from different backgrounds, culture, our gender, somehow actually inform the decision, how we act on site, and especially now where you find a whole lot of females that are coming in. Most of the aging workforce, the men cannot work with the females. They don't allow themselves to be led by a female. So now when you bring emotional intelligence, where Goleman's theory now reiterates the fact that you don't just manage your own feelings, but you manage your own emotional intelligence, but you also manage the emotions of everybody around you.
Well, thank you, authors, for the first round of questions. We also have an online question. They want to know, how do they buy the book, physically and online?
The book is available on Emerald's website for purchase, the hard copy. And also you can get the soft copy either through the Emerald website or via Amazon. And if you're using your Kindles, you can also download it via Amazon on Kindle.
Thank you. There's another online question. Okay, you can read it out loud.
I think if it's wants to actually speak.
Oh, okay. Lerato, do you have the platform to ask the question? Yes, George. I see you have your hand raised. We're giving you the platform to ask the authors a question. We're able to check it because you're not muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Can George?
Okay, I want to commend Lerato and her team for this remarkable book. I'm Dr. George Onatu. I'm a senior staff at the Department of Urban and Regional Planning. I equally want to highlight on issues of deployment of digital tools to the current workforce, most especially in construction management and construction sector. This is one of the aspects of which I see they have been able to fill a research gap. I equally see a lot of potential in this book, most especially with reference to the youth, as well as the current millennial generation and post-millennial, which research has shown these are people we consider to be very innovative, people who appreciate smartphone, as well as 4IR, as well as other advanced technology, and most especially relating it to training and development, which I'm happy our colleague, the CEO of CIDB, who have been a friend of our university over the years, she actually highlighted on this need for transformation. How can we use technology to actually monitor as well as evaluate construction projects? The reason why I'm mentioning this is that we equally see and want to see more of better trained graduates who can abreast and appreciate technology. Because when you look around what's happening, how do we address this issue of unemployment of our graduates? Most especially, the global world is becoming more competitive. And I see a lot of hope as well as prospect in this particular book, which we are launching today. And on that note, I want to commend our colleagues and I appreciate them for the hard work which they have put in place to see this particular book which we are launching today. That is it from my side, Project Director. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that insight. Can we attempt a second round of questions? We want to feel like we own the work. Engage us.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Farnan Gete. I work for City of Joburg as a Chief Building Inspector. I'm also a PhD candidate. First and foremost, congratulations to the authors. I think this is work that deserves to be applauded. So I've got two questions. So the first question is, I'm interested to know more about the professional background of the 11 experts that you interviewed for the Delphi methods. And also, like, how did you ascertain that they are appropriate respondents for your objective? And then the second one, which is more comment, yeah, I just want you guys maybe to talk around that. So lots of people are talking about how digital technologies create skills gap. So what I want to like find out is how do we sort of like close that gap that is created by these digital technologies, especially when you chat with union organizations. They will always like sort of like drive that conversation towards that. And I think it's important for us as academic space to be able to sort of like explain that clearly to them. Thank you.
Hi, David, you can ask a question.
Hello, can you guys hear me? It's David.
David?
Hello, can you hear me?
Again,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, David, you're clear?
Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone. Mine is basically a comment and of course an appreciation of the good work done, I think, by the three guys, I think, under the leadership of our Prof. Clayton. The main three things that I just want us to check is, I think I heard Prof also talking about the training, de-skilling and reskilling. So I think that's the emphasis that just want to see how much the book talks about the reskilling and de-skilling in terms of training the workforce. And then also the other one is appreciation of local content, having a book on Fourth Industrial Revolution with digital trend in the construction industry. I think that's very commendable to Prof. Lerato and the team. And then the last one, which is my point of interest on my research, is leadership support. How much does the book talk about leaders, the executives, in supporting the users or the workforce in changing into new technology? Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. I think authors, you can take your questions.
Thank you very much. I think I will start with, I think the first one from Dr. Natu was a comment. Thank you very much, Doc. The other aspects relating to the Delphi, I'm going to call on Dr. Lerato to speak more to that. However, when it comes to the Delphi setting, Delphi speaks to experts, okay? And with 11, even though 11 experts completed, we didn't start with 11. And with the Delphi setting, there are some student criteria set. And the very first criteria, first of all, is to look at the geographical region. It was not an international Delphi, it was a localized Delphi. Speaking to experts within the industry. And experts, one of the contested definition is that how do you know someone is an expert? What makes somebody an expert? And that gets us into the background to say, what should they possess? Okay, so in our case, we have to make sure that we set a stringent criteria to say they must have an N number of years in the industry. They must have that particular experience working in the industry, not somebody that just lives in school today. And secondly, even though they are academics, they should have practiced. So it's not people that basically just have the head knowledge, theoretical dimension. So in terms of that professional background, it kind of cuts across looking at people within the HRO division, which most of the time we don't look at them. It was not just a conglomeration of the construction professionals, because most times you realize that even the project managers, they don't really have a whole lot of understanding about the workforce management. So we have to draw on the HRO department, HRO experts. In fact, I remember one of the ladies that we worked with, she has been an expert for over 20 years. She doesn't have a construction background, but she has been in charge of workforce management in the industry for over 20 years. I think her insight was so useful. So the background was such that they have something to do with construction industry employment recruitment. It was vital. That's they must have that particular understanding and some other criteria in terms of educational background and all that. Dr. Lerato can speak to that. Then the other aspect relating to the question, I think we should complete that. Let's complete that question. Yeah.
Okay. Prof says I must continue, but he has said a mouthful. But just to reiterate what Prof Clinton has highlighted, that we did look at the number of years that the people have been working within the construction industry. And moreover, we also looked at that they need to be at senior level. They need to be managing people. People need to be reporting to them as well. And likewise with the academics, we looked at academics who have practiced within the construction industry and also have published works within the space of human resource management as well.
I think the other question was on I think this question, I like this question, how digital divide kind of really created a skills gap, which is something we're struggling with, and how the gap can be closed. I remember doing a section in Midrand, and this same question was asked to say, if we look at South Africa, there's a whole lot of issues within the industry, looking at the issues of inequality, and we're talking about technology. You now realize that the question is our industry ready for some of this technological usage at some level? How do we, not just talking about upskilling, but do we have the resources? You know, we also have the issue of the construction mafias coming in now and a whole lot of things to say, how do we close it? I think my statement there was that we must not stop trying. We basically need to see what we can do at the level that we are. That if it is just theoretical dimension, we make them to understand it at anything we're doing. We need to be able to, as academics, kind of really teach the industry and share best practices of how it can work. So one of the things I kind of find out over time now is that there needs to be a sound academic and industry partnership, because we realize that some of the things that we formulate, we need to try it out in construction companies. Then it can then become like an industry-wide optic. So in closing the skills gaps, considering the union bodies and all that, it's not possible to stop the movement of this era. It's not possible to stop the change. The change is going to increase, okay? So the only thing we have to do as an industry, as South Africans, as Africans, is to make sure that at any level, the level that we are in now, we need to be able to make use of the little resources that we have to train our employees to basically be ready for what is coming. Because I don't see 4IRO stopping anytime soon. I don't see the industry not moving things forward. But what we need to do is that, including the skills gap, there needs to be that particular dialogue. I think there needs to be a strong stakeholders engagement. And the other thing that is not really being talked about here in government is change management. We need to look at change management. And one other thing I have learned from Dr. Ntebo, which I have really been working on, is the issue of boundary crossing. You know, in closing the skills gap, we need to look at boundary crossing. Some employment, some work, you will not have need for it. We need to look at how do we do a boundary crossing of people to move from one particular trade to another trade. And I think CETA has been doing some things in that particular area to see if people that are actually electrical engineers, they will also be able to function as good plumbers and all that. So we need to be thinking about boundary crossing. Some skills you might not be able to unskill or to reskill. There will be a challenge. We need to then look at how do people cross from one particular boundary of their skill to another area and still continue in their relevance. So I can go on, but it's just for the union bodies to understand that where we are at the moment is a movement. And the movement is not kind of really palatable with the way it's being spoken of, but at the end of the day, it is something that is bound to happen. And we need to be ready for it as an industry.
And I think another thing to add to that is the fact that change doesn't come in one day. Most of what the technologies we're using today, they all met resistance in the past. So if we continue to publicize these technologies, try to promote these technologies using platforms like we're doing currently, writing a book, you're doing researches in this area, and we have the platform going. I like what the CIDB is doing currently with the postgraduate conferences, tailoring it into technological, sustainable discourse. having gatherings like that, we're able to promote the use of these technologies and somehow try to bridge that divide between academia and the industry by showcasing these technologies. I think we can continue to further improve how they receive these technologies and don't see it as something that's actually going to take away their jobs, but create better opportunities for them.
Then I think the last question was more of a comment, then you now ended by bringing in the leadership support.
Yes.
Yes, if there are some, if the book really dealt with the dimension of leadership support. Leadership construct was not one of the things that was molded, because we need to be very careful in terms of looking at the workforce management and look at it at a level where we're actually focusing on workforce management. But the entire exogenous variables that were molded were looking at the experts that were used. It's actually speaking from that particular integration of understanding that leadership must be in place to actually make this particular construct to happen. Yeah.
Thank you very much, authors. I request to close the questions and answers session, looking at the time. So yeah, thank you, authors, for engaging us on your work. So yes, you can. So in terms of where we are in the program, I would like to call Professor Clinton, the man who stretches our cognitive muscles and physical muscles, our mentor, our supervisor, to give us a response and a way forward on the book.
All right. Guys, thank you very much. I'm going to put our hands together for Dr. Lerato one more time. Thank you very much. I thought probably Tandika was going to say the man that is making me not to sleep, because she needs to finish her PhD. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you one more time. I think the book on construction workforce management in the fourth industrial revolution era is something that is very dear to our hearts. It's not just something that is coming out of a 1 year or 2 year study. I remember when Dr. Lerato started with her PhD, and she was so interested in human resources. I think after working with, I still remember that company, is it, don't worry, I'm trying to remember, the company actually took her to Ghana to work. Is it Group 5, right? WBHU, thank you very much. And she was very interested in studying something on human resources. I think probably from her experience, moving from South Africa, thinking of working in Ghana, and one of the things they also realized was that there were a lot of disparities between workforce that were, let me use the word workforce, that were coming from the BTech and those that had BSc. They suddenly realized it was not the same contract of employment. I think that actually kind of really resonates with her. And then going to Ghana as a junior quantity surveyor, it was also very different. And everything was centered around human resources. And when she came back, I was like, I want to do a master's. I'm looking at human resources. And I think it was something that I just jumped at it, and we worked on it, coming down to the PhD and where we are now. So ladies and gentlemen, the launch of this particular construction workforce management in this particular era of 4IRO at UJ, I want to thank the UJ Library. This is in collaboration with UJ Library, CIDB, the DSI and NRO research here in sustainable construction management and leadership in the built environment and the research center. I really want to say that this particular launch represents a significant milestone in the integration of contemporary workforce management practices within the construction sector, especially within the context of the 4IRO. So I believe that this collaboration really underscores what I call a collective commitment to advancing knowledge and fostering innovation in construction workforce management. And at the same time, we're able to address both current challenges and anticipated future needs, like what we have just realized this morning. In response to the book, I've been thinking about what I was going to say. The book, Construction Workforce Management in the Fourth Industrial Revolution Era, kind of comes at a critical point in the life of the industry, considering that globally we face unprecedented challenges that are driven by rapid technological advancements. It's not just South Africa alone. There is shift in labor dynamics. You hear gig labor these days. People talk about gig work. Laborers don't want to really associate themselves anymore with one particular site. And there's also the increasing demand for sustainability and efficiency. You know, there's anything that scares me when you talk about sustainable construction is that, do the workers really understand what sustainable construction is? Do they understand what they're actually doing? So I believe that this publication It's a commendable effort that actually synthesizes latest research trends and practical insights into how we can actually be able to manage construction workforce, considering the complexities of OIRO. I want to say complexity because you realize that even within China, even though China is really making a lot of giant strides, I do go to Twitter to see what is happening, and I saw a video where somebody was walking in a mall, was just window shopping, and suddenly the floor caved. And when I tried to do a lot of research myself, I realized that that particular building, they had actually used modular construction. So what happened in terms of, because most of the time we complain about workers not doing their work on site, there is poor workmanship, but now this one was done off-site, but yet the floor still caving. So that tells you that we're facing a lot of complexities. However, the comprehensive coverage, ladies and gentlemen, of workforce management practices, including the dimensions we talked about this morning: recruitment, selection, compensation, benefits, performance management. I know that's a big word, because if you work, there's also that particular performance management, and the pivotal role of emotional intelligence and external environment, ladies and gentlemen. You realize that kind of really provide a robust framework for organizations that are actually aiming to navigate the challenges and at the same time the opportunities presented by the fourth industrial revolution. So the conceptual model that was developed as proposed in the book kind of really offers a forward-thinking approach to enhancing employee performance, their satisfaction, and at the same time the construction company's resilience. So the collaboration between UJ and the esteemed CIDB and other industry bodies in launching this book today kind of really exemplifies the synergy between academic research and industry practice. I really want to thank CIDB for the support they've given to us. It's an opportunity not just to write, but to actually be able to kind of practicalize what you're writing. So, ladies and gentlemen, this partnership is crucial for us in terms of translating theoretical insights into practical strategies that can be implemented within the construction sector to drive sustainable growth and competitiveness. The way forward. This is what I've been thinking, that looking ahead, now that the book has been published, is launched, I believe that insights presented in this book should really serve as a catalyst for every one of us, for the industry, for us to be able to go into dialogue, to go more into research and collaboration among academics, industry practitioners, policymakers, and at the same time, educators. Educators here, I mean lecturers, because like what Ms. Notabella said, most of the time, we kind of really teach things within the context of the notes and all that. And we talk about decolonization to say we need to look at books of this nature to actually inform what we teach in the classroom. So the following strategies is what I've been thinking. I want to recommend them to see how we can maximize the impact of this particular what I call a seminar work. First of all, there needs to be great industry adoption and implementation. That we need to encourage through this book in terms of how construction companies can actually adopt the model that has been developed, the practices, and at the same time, we hope to see how we can have tailored workshops, training sections, and at the same time, consultancy services to provide practical applications and integration into their operations. If there's anything we're doing at the moment in our research center, is that we're not just publishing and writing for writing's sake, but we're also looking at how to translate this particular framework we have developed into real-life scenarios. And we have some interesting work that will be coming forth in the next few months. Secondly, I also want to talk about the need for a continuous research and innovation. I'm sure there are PhD students here, master students here. We need to really foster multidisciplinary research. This research in workforce management, I'm sure most times when you hear about human resources, you'll be wondering, what has construction got to do with human resources? But realize that one of the major inputs that we manage in the industry is human resources. In fact, construction industry is all about human resources, not just the materials and the concrete and all that. So we need to foster multidisciplinary research where we can get people from humanities, people from the religious dimension. We're talking about emotional intelligence now. We need people from religious dimension to actually be able to explore emerging trends, technologies, and management practices that could further evolve the construction workforce management landscape. And I think that we should also give a special attention to sustainability and digital transformation. Digital transformation is not just about digitalization, it is moving beyond digitalization. Digital transformation at the same time looking at the global mobility of construction labor. This is a new trend. We have seen it in most countries that we need to do research into these areas There's something, when one of the colleagues was asking a question now, in terms of the divide, if there's a disparity between male and female, there's something that we'll be working on also, looking at even the PPE. If you go to construction sites, you look at PPE, those particular PPEs are designed for men. They're not designed for women. So, but we want women to fit in a PPE that is designed for men. Even the shoes and all that, the boot we give to them, they are designed for men's leg. And we want women to work on the industry. So we realize that even from the basic level of protection, we already have a divide in the industry. So there's a need for continuous research and innovation to look at how human resources can actually foster this particular transition. Also, we should also look at the dimension of policy development and advocacy. I think that the book's findings kind of really informs policy and development in terms of how to enhance workforce development, education and training programs. We should also look at our educational curriculum integration. Ladies and gentlemen, there's anything that is very dear to my heart is the issue of pedagogy. Because we realize that if we're talking about digital transformation, talking about 4R, do our current curriculum as construction educators really take note of the current thing that we are seeing? So we need to integrate the book's concepts and models into the curriculum of construction management, construction engineering, and at the same time, technological programs. I think this will kind of really prepare future professionals with the knowledge and skills required to lead in the rapidly changing environment. Because at the moment, I'm not sure within our programs in most universities, we teach students about emotional intelligence. We don't teach those things most of the time. We do mention it in passing, but I think we should kind of really have it cast in stone so that whoever is coming to teach, they know that we need to teach these particular soft skills. And lastly, there should be that dimension of global dialogue and best practice sharing. We really hope to kind of really keep sharing what we have been doing. We want to really establish a platform for international dialogue, exchange of best practices among construction industry stakeholders. If there's anything I've come to learn over time is that we share what we know, because if you don't share what you know, you will be locked in the knowledge of the past. We want to keep doing more. So this could actually involve sharing these information in conferences, symposiums, and at the same time in other forums. Our publications generally, I will always say that they are in high-end publishers with Emeralds, like this particular book was published with Emeralds. We also publish with Taylor and Francis, Routledge Publishers, SHSCRC Press. Also, we have a couple of publications with Springer, and we have some other book coming. We're looking forward to with Elsevier and UJ Press, because I'm sure you might be wondering, I'm talking about the UK. We also are working on the book now with the UJ Press, because we realize that we also need to publish a book local content. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, construction workforce management in this particular 4R era is timely, and at the same time, is a valuable contribution to the field. This book is a valuable contribution to the field. It lays the groundwork, as Dr. Lerato said, for transformative change in how the construction industry will approach workforce management in the era of digital innovation. So the collaborative effort of UJ, CIDB, the Sustainable Human Settlement Center, the DSI, and NRF Research Chair in Sustainable Construction Management, in launching this book, ladies and gentlemen, is a testament to the power of partnership in driving progress and excellence in the construction industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof, for that response and way forward. In terms of our program, I'd like to give the platform to Dr. Debo, who will give a message of support from the UJ context. Dr. Debo Mobile, is a bit clear.
Good afternoon, colleagues, and in the room and online. We are almost towards the end of the agenda, and I'm not Professor Shogwe, and this address was meant for Professor Shogwe. First of all, I would like to say congratulations to Dr. Lerato. Well done. We are very proud of you. And as it has been already said, you have now completed the book. Now what? We need another one. Here's another one. But well done, and we look forward to reading the book. And we have been told where the book is available. Thank you. From the UJ side, this is a very welcome achievement. And as you know, that the university is very big on research, and we just don't do research for the sake of research. We do research that is impactful, that is going to contribute to the development of the country. And in terms of this book, the discussions have already been done. I don't want to go there again. We know the impact that this book is going to have both on in the construction industry as well as in academia. So thank you very much. From the university side as well, this book is going to contribute towards the research output units. You are all aware that the university, I think it was said at the beginning of the session that the university is striving to be to remain #1 in terms of research output units. And this book is going to contribute to that. And just so those of you who are not aware, Dr. Lerato belongs to the School of Civil Engineering and the Built Environment at UJ. And this is the school that produces the highest research output units for the university. So we learn a lot from you, and we're also the center. We learn a lot from the center as well. But this just shows the collaboration and how people coming together as a team can do. And we have seen this over and over from the school and from the center as well. So I don't want to add a lot, but in terms of the university, we support the book, and we are looking forward to working with to reviewing the book and also making sure that our students, I'm from the Civil Engineering Technology Department, so my students will also benefit from the book that has been published. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ndebo, for that message of support from the Office of the Vice Dean. We are at the end of our program, and I'd like to call Dr. Lepazi to do the closing announcement and center context. So it is Dr. Lepazi / Ms. Tusi.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I am standing here as the Deputy Director of the Center. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we close this important launch, I want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who has made this launch on construction workforce a very much resounding success. I also want to thank those who came here. Firstly, I would like to thank those who participated, also the authors who participated in the book itself. This is Dr. Douglas, Dr. Lerato, and also Prof. Clinton. So your contributions and dedication brings important, valuable contributions to the built environment, also to the university, as we had earlier. And it's important to also note that undoubtedly the contribution will help with also enhancing the SDG goals as you know them, and also help the governmental NDP and all other policies that we seek to achieve as a country at large. So I would like us to give another round of applause for this contribution. So I'd also like to extend our appreciation to our guests and the attendees who were able to grace us today. Your presence is highly noted, and we will actually appreciate your continuous participation in enriching the dialogues around different books that will continue to launch throughout the next few years. I'd also like to make a few announcements. So the book, as you heard, it will be on emerald.com for those who want to buy it. However, authors will be available for signing in the next launch. So all the other books in the previous few years, we'll ensure that we make copies of those books, and all those will be there. The authors will also be there, and we'll make sure that all the authors are there as well. And if you want a hard copy, we'll be there to ensure that you also sign a copy at that light. So lastly, I also want to invite us now, as we conclude now, to ensure that we have a networking session where we have our finger lunches and discussions, so that we ensure we carry on in the further questions and answers and discussions. So once again, I appreciate you all for being here. But as we close now, there's a choreography photograph that I want to do. So what I'll do is now, while we're here, I'll push the table to the front and the 3 chairs, and I'll ask all of us, as we are here right now, to stand behind the chairs. The 3 authors will sit, and then we'll have maybe 4 or 5 photographs, 25 minutes, and then we'll close. Once again, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next book launch.